Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Noah Lasky. I'm a first-year graduate student at the University of Toronto, and I'm excited to present my research titled Conservatives Are Happier, Evidence Across Countries, Measures, and Time Points. Now, the centerpiece of my research project is a very simple question. On a scale from extremely left-wing to extremely right-wing, who are the happiest? Now, although this might seem like a simple question, the existing literature is full of a bunch of discrepant findings which would leave us confused about what the true answer is. So in my research, I sought to address these discrepancies across 4 studies by addressing some of the major shortcomings in the literature. The first being a lack of cross-cultural investigation. It could be that in some countries conservatives are happier, but in others liberals are, depending on their fit with their particular culture. So to test this, we used the World Values Survey, which contains representative samples from 90 countries. We organized these into 10 international regions, and then we used 2 dependent variables, these being life satisfaction and happiness. What we find is that conservatives experience superior levels of life satisfaction in 9 out of 10 international regions. They're also experiencing heightened happiness in 8 of 10 regions, suggesting that there is a robust international link between conservatism and well-being. Secondly, we wanted to address the overuse of unidimensional measures to assess a complex construct, namely well-being. It could be that ideology relates in different ways to different facets of well-being. So to test this possibility, we deployed 12 different well-being dependent variables, and then we ran a pre-registered factor analysis, which reduced our outcomes down to 3 dependent variables, these being high life satisfaction, low positive feelings, and high negative feelings. And then we regressed each of these outcomes onto political ideology, again, across 5 more countries, these being Canada, Brazil, Italy, India, and the United States. Consistently with study 1, we find that more conservative people experience heightened levels of life satisfaction. We also found that more left-wing people experience less positive feelings, but when it came to high negative feelings, there wasn't a clear association with political ideology. What these studies show is that although there is a robust link between conservatism and well-being, to some extent the association does depend on which facet we're considering. Now, thirdly, I wanted to test whether these links were stable across time, both on short and longer timescales. So in our first study, we used a daily diary study which spanned across 21 days, and when we aggregated across all 21 days, we replicated our prior findings such that conservatives experienced superior levels of well-being, which included life satisfaction, purpose, and meaning, but there wasn't a clear link with psychological ill-being, which included depression and stress. And then when we look across each of the 21 days, we see that there's this very stable association, again, such that conservatives are experiencing heightened levels of psychological well-being in all 21 consecutive days, but we don't see this clean link for ill-being outcomes. What about in longer durations? When we look at 11 consecutive years using the New Zealand Attitudes and Values Survey, we find that, again, in 11 straight years, conservatives are experiencing higher levels of life satisfaction than liberals are. So lastly, having shown that these effects are very stable across both short and longer time frames, I wanted to see if we could find a within-person association between conservatism and well-being. So again, we used the New Zealand Attitudes and Values Survey, and when we centered both our predictor and outcome within persons to control for all between-person differences in ideology and well-being, we still found a small but significant association between conservatism and life satisfaction, such that when individuals were feeling more conservative than they themselves usually do, they were also slightly more satisfied with their lives than usual. So to take away, this is the most comprehensive study to date looking at ideology and well-being. What we find is that conservatives experience more positive feelings and more life satisfaction. These effects generalize across countries and measures. They're stable across days and years and even observable within persons. Ultimately, I hope that these findings can provide a robust and firm foundation for future investigation, particularly into the processes which might explain why conservatives are experiencing heightened levels of well-being, and that we might use this knowledge to help increase the well-being tides around the world. Thanks so much, and I'm happy to discuss any of these studies more.